Well, hello, friends. How's it going? It's so fun. It's such a fun day. We're having such a fun week because, as you know, we're heading into Halloween. But before we get to that, we got to actually take you in strong. And that means we got to level up before the weekend. So happy Thursday to you. And if you're joining us on the replay, a happy replay day to you as well. We're live and excited to welcome you to today's live level up conversation. Well, I'm Winnie Sun, your host, Forbes contributor, CNBC council member, and award-winning financial pro, here to keep you on top of relevant, trending business news. But most importantly, remember, you're part of today's discussion. So we will be monitoring and sharing audience feedback throughout the program. It's kind of like back in the day when I used to work at America's Funniest Home Videos. It was so fun. We love to get that interaction. Now, today we have a very, very special guest in mind for you. So you definitely want to stay. But before we jump to there, I want you to stay close because we're going to talk about how the financial markets close, okay? But stay tuned because you're not going to want to miss him. He's incredible. Now let's talk about how the market closed. I think I'll be happy to hear that. Today, the Dow closed up 232 points. The Nasdaq closed up 210 points, and the S&P closed up 44 points. Triple up day. We'll definitely take it. Now, on other news, you may have seen also that Facebook. Well, let's rewind a little bit. Remember when Google went all alphabet? Well, today Facebook changed its company name to Meta. That's right. I don't know how you feel about that. Do you like the Meta? You don't like the Meta. But today, this is what we know. And in fact, I'll share with you Mark Zuckerberg's quote. He said that today we are seen as a social media company, but our DNA, we are a company that builds technology to connect people. And the metaverse is the next frontier, just like social networking, which is how they got started. So as you know, Meta is now going beyond just social media. And the name change was announced at the Facebook Connect conference that they had, this virtual conference that they had. And it's really based on sort of like that sci-fi term of metaverse. So Facebook, AKA now Meta, is focused on its vision for working and playing in a virtual world. I feel like that's a song. If only we had someone who could sing, right? Stay tuned. On other news, Amazon reported disappointing earnings and shares unfortunately dropped more than 4% after hours. The company reported weaker than expected earnings. I'm guessing some of you are surprised by this. But as you know, they're blaming a lot of things. In fact, CEO Andy Jassy said today that they expect to take several $billion of extra costs before the year end due to things like labor shortages, obviously higher employee costs, global supply chain issues, and increased shipping and freight costs as well. Not big surprise there, but I'm guessing some of you might be like, Amazon had actually had weak earnings. It's true. A big hello. I want to say hello. I see so many of you joining us. Thank you so much for being here. I see Joshua. I see CrossX Fighter on YouTube Live. It's great to see you. Vicky Garvey. So awesome to see you on LinkedIn Live, my friend. And the one and only Brian Schumann. A boom, boom, hello, and welcome to you on LinkedIn Live, aka the Godfather of LinkedIn. So great to see you, my friend. And congratulations on the new book. Thank you so much. See all of you joining. Don't be shy. Definitely send in comments. Let me know where you're joining us from, okay? Now, in other news, Apple is also a +1 here after the market closes. Similarly to Amazon, Apple's revenue fell short of expectations today, which Apple CEO Tim Cook, we know, he's saying that this is, somewhat expected due to supply constraints on their very popular iPhones and iPads and Macs and whatnot. So that's what we're looking at. We're going into the holidays. Let's see how these companies perform at the end of the year. And most importantly, if you are watching, I'm curious to see, there's a lot of talk about supply chain issues, inflation. Are you going to be spending just as much this holiday, or do you plan to sort of tighten the budget? Definitely share. Don't be shy. We'd love to see you. And yes, thank you so much. Hello, Paul. And on LinkedIn, on Facebook, I should say, Facebook Live. Thank you so much for being here as well. It's wonderful to see you, my friend. It was so nice to see you in the tweet chat. So thank you so much for being with us yesterday. All right. So let me share with you something else. And this is big news. Are you sitting down? because this is a big one. This is big news because this gives you an idea of what's happening here in the United States, especially since we've just experienced and we're still experiencing COVID, right? And as you know, this is open enrollment period. For those of you who are working at companies going through this, you might be wondering, what should I be doing? Well, let me share the statistic with you. This is actually news I learned recently. Almost half of all employees recently purchased at least one new benefit as a result of the pandemic. This came from the 2021 Aflac Workforces Report. And they actually showed that 83% of employers and 67% of employees are highly satisfied with their company's COVID responses. So we definitely have to get to this. This is a big conversation. So before we jump in here, let me ask you, for those of you who are watching, tell me, number one, where you're joining us from, and of course, which company you work for. And don't be shy. Tell me whether or not you think your company provides sufficient benefit choices for you, because we almost need a drum roll effect here, because let me tell you, I have a special guest today, someone I've been looking forward to for quite some time, and he's pretty awesome. He's really awesome, and he's really impressive to me. So welcome, Matthew. Matthew, how are you?
I'm doing great, Winnie. Thanks for having us.
Thanks so much for being here, Matthew Owenby. I got to jump into your bio, Matthew, because I've done quite a bit of research on you, and I got to say, I'm kind of really excited to share this with everybody, because Senior Vice President, Chief HR Officer at Aflac Incorporated, 15 plus years of experience in financial services and HR, and a Senior Vice President, Chief Human Resources Officer. Let's just say a really, really awesome guy. You are working with Aflac, which is the provider of supplemental insurance in the United States with nearly 10,000 employees. How do you do this? How do you keep 10,000 people happy?
Well, we offer great benefits, but we also offer, we think, a very unique company culture and experience that you'd be proud to be a part of. Our value system matches how we want to treat people and treat people well. And we put our employees first. We believe in taking care of our employees so they can take care of our customers and the business.
Well, we appreciate that. I think especially now, the employees have a lot of choice on where they can work, right? So they're looking for value. Let me ask you this, I've got a chance to get to know you a little bit. I will tell you from my sample, I feel like we've been friends forever. And I'm curious to learn this. How did you get into HR, Matthew?
Yeah, I get that question a lot. Actually, my father was in HR, but he was in HR before it was actually called HR. Back in those days, it was called personnel management. He was actually in it before that, when it was really more of a training and health and safety function. So I just love him. He's my best friend. I always wanted to be like him. So I went into the line of work that he spent 47 years in.
Wow. 47 years. Are you going to work 47 years? We're getting 50 years out of you, Matthew.
Yeah, you may get 50 out of me. I'm going to work as long as I can.
Well, I know a lot of people absolutely adore you. I have some people I really respect at Aflac, and they sing your praises. So I'm really grateful to have you here with us. But let's talk about this, Matthew, open enrollment. Many of us go through sort of day-to-days of our companies, and then all of a sudden we get this email or this package that says, hey, we're in open enrollment. Do you want to do the same as you did before, or do you want to make changes, and who do you want to protect? It can be a little overwhelming, So I'm curious, from your standpoint, maybe you could define for us what open enrollment is and why we should care about this.
Absolutely. Really, to summarize open enrollment, it is essentially the time of the year, usually from November to maybe mid-December, where companies offer the ability for their employees to make changes to the coming year's employee and benefit elections. And to your point, it happens at usually the exact wrong time from an employee experience perspective, because we're closing out the year, things are busy, holidays are coming up. So there's a lot of distractions going on. But generally speaking, this is the time to make changes to your healthcare elections for the coming year, in this case, 2022. It operates usually from the 1st of November, usually to the beginning or mid part of December.
Yeah, it is a busy time, right? We're thinking about the holidays, we're thinking about Thanksgiving, who's coming, how the turkey's going to look, and yet we have to make those very important choices. But what's nice about this is Aflac, this is one report I love. Every year, you do the Aflac Workforces Report. And we know this was a big survey that came out, and you looked at a lot of different employees, their needs, their feelings, as well as that of companies. So I'm curious to get your impression on this. Was there anything that came out of this year's survey that you found surprising, especially given, I would think there was, especially given that we're going through a pandemic?
Yeah, we've done this for many, many years. I've been a part of this program since I've been at Aflac, almost 10 years. And this is an offering that we do to really support our small business partners out there, which are a great deal of our customers. We want them to be in the know when it comes to defining and designing benefits and plans for their organizations. Really, kind of three things came out to me in this particular year's survey is that no surprise, pandemics make people worry about the cost of healthcare. So healthcare costs have really been brought to the front of people's minds. You mentioned a stat at the opening outset that more and more people have purchased insurance products and supplemental insurance products, but probably in a sad way, Winnie, one of the most interesting aspects of this year's survey is that more than half of the people we surveyed actually purchased life insurance or added additional life insurance to their plans, which is sad, but clearly tells you that people were frightened and perhaps still are by the pandemic.
Yeah, I think so. I think people still feel like we're not quite back to normal, but it is, I think, there's been a lot of silver linings that have come out of this pandemic, Matthew. And I think one thing is really knowing to save in that emergency fund, making sure that, we have plans in case of an emergency. And I think having more emphasis on things like what type of insurance that each household needs is important. And it's interesting because this is becoming so much more critical now more than ever, this awareness and knowledge of how to make these important insurance decisions. And I think it's good. I think we're being more proactive. So let me ask you this: when you think about sort of employee decisions, obviously you've been in this business a very long time, you consult with a lot of employees, thousands of employees, right? And you've worked with multiple companies. What do you think are some common errors you would say that employees make during open enrollment? Maybe a few that you think are stand out that we want to avoid if we're going through this ourselves.
There are really two or three core things, Winnie. Number one is that people don't spend a lot of time thinking and creating this and treating this as part of their financial plan. Number two, people tend to just sort of let things be as they are, not anticipating and planning for their future healthcare needs. They tend to just sort of leave things the way they were, and sometimes they'll choose plans that they can't afford. They'll choose a high deductible plan if that's an option and not realize that it may sound cheaper over time, but it may not be. So we see mainly, though, that people just leave things the same. They don't take enough time to make the changes into the future that they need to appropriately protect their finances.
Yeah, I think that's the case, right, Matthew? Sometimes we're so busy with life that it's just easier to elect last year's decisions. But it does make sense to maybe, look a little deeper to see other options that might be available to you. Let me ask you this, something that I've seen through the years is sometimes somebody might feel like, well, I only there were these other benefits that like I heard that Matthew spoke about. I don't know if I had that benefit at work. What do you think is an appropriate way to bridge that conversation with your employer? Maybe there's interest.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I would recommend you meet with your employer and ask them to look into adding supplemental insurance policies to the plan, especially if the plan has gaps for the employees. We know that employees that have broader healthcare insurance options are more likely to stay with their current employer, and it becomes an ability to attract employees into your environment. And we know that it's a very, very difficult talent market out there right now. People have a lot of options. So one way employers can differentiate themselves from their competition is to add supplemental health care plans and policies to their offerings.
That's great. I think that's good. I think that having that open dialogue with your employer, right? We know a large percentage of employees sometimes feel like, they don't have that relationship, but realize that companies are run by people. So make the call, send an email, and you just might be surprised. You might be able to bring on another benefit to
Right.
you and your fellow employees and your friends, and everybody could benefit. And Matthew, I love what you made that point. I just read an article that talked about this is the year not of the great resignation, but the great retention. So
Right.
companies are really focused, right, on retaining top talent. And this might just be the way of giving people choice. And I also read in your survey that I thought was really powerful that talked about, when companies made sure to have a very robust benefit package offering, like you talked about, having health and dental and having supplemental benefits as options, that employees not only felt like they had more options, they felt more secure, they felt more confident, but overall they were happier because they felt like they were better protected, right? And I'm thinking, as a parent of myself, as a parent of three little ones, it just makes you feel good that in addition to working and bringing a paycheck, that you're able to provide the needed insurance in case of a need for those that you love. So I love that. So thank you, Matthew. I mean, does that make you feel good? I feel like people probably tell you this all the time.
It does. I mean, I think having benefits offerings that are comprehensive is just another way to show people and our employees that we care about them and we want to protect them. Financial anxiety at home absolutely affects how people perform and feel about work. And if you can offer ways to protect people's finances, especially from unexpected medical costs, it helps to reduce that anxiety. And this past couple of years has been a reason to be anxious, certainly around matters of healthcare. If a pandemic doesn't get you focused on your health, very few things will.
That's a good point. Very, very good point. The pandemic has certainly put this into the spotlight of the importance of protecting those that we love. And there's so much good information. And for those of you who are joining us here, some of you may want to look deeper into this report. Maybe you're planning for your own company and talking to your own employees, or maybe you're just your team, or maybe you're even considering which company to join and you're saying, I just want to see what sort of benefits are available. So we want to definitely share this with you. We've been sharing this live during the stream here, but for those of you who are watching, definitely check out the Aflac workforcesreport.com, or what I would say, just go to aflac.com. So much good information there. Matthew, it's so much fun. This is the holidays, and I feel like we should have some fun with you. What do
Yeah,
you think? Are you game for a speed round? Because I feel like it's time.
let's do it.
All right, Matthew. Well, you are new to Level Up, but we have some fun because we want to get to know you a little bit better. So we're putting you on the clock. We're going to give you about a minute to answer two questions. We'll probably go a little bit longer because I'm hoping we learn more about you. This is the first question that I have for you, Matthew. What's the best piece of life advice that you've received, and who shared this with you? As background for those of you who are watching, I've actually seen many of Matthew's interviews already that are on the web, and you might want to check these out because Matthew is quite profound. But I'm curious to see what advice really resonated with you.
Gosh, I have had the opportunity to work in so many places with lots of people. Why don't I go with a piece of advice that our current CEO here at Aflac gives, and it works out in so many different ways, but it's simple, that bad news doesn't get better with age and time. So if you have bad news, share it as quickly as possible. It won't make things better to wait to share bad news. And so that's given very constantly here by our CEO, Dan Amos. He's made that perspective famous here.
That's really, really smart, and that's so true. And I think a lot of us want to hear that. We want to hear that right now, Matthew, more than ever, because sometimes, we have bad news. Maybe we need to tell our employees something. Maybe it's to our family members. But like you said, bad news doesn't change. So sometimes you just got to go for it. Thank you. That's really great. And thank you, Dan, for sharing that. I love it. All right. Good news. All right. A very serious question. Is everybody ready? Let me just say, I see Brian Schumann on LinkedIn Live. It's great to have you here, CrossTech Spider. I see Van also on YouTube. I see so many Robin Stevens on LinkedIn Live. Thank you all so much for joining us. Also sharing your comments today. This is a very serious question. I'm asking it on behalf of all of you because you know I adore you. A duck, let's just say a few ducks flew by my desk. My friends here. Can you see my duck? By the way, before we get into this, what is on your tie, Matthew? Can we take a look at that?
Sure. With ducks.
How cute duck tie. I thought it was, and I thought you all might want to check that out too. Look at, is this like your uniform at Aflac? Because these are just really cute.
Yeah, absolutely. It's my uniform. We have lots of ducks around here. Duck ponds and ducks everywhere.
I see that. Brian Schumann saying breaking news duck. I love that. All right, Brian. So I think you're going to really like this question, Brian. But here we go. Very serious question. My ducks flew by my desk, and I'm inspired to ask you, Matthew, this. What is the greatest karaoke song of all time, according to Matthew Owenby?
This is the easiest question ever. I am a huge Prince fan. May you rest in peace. The greatest karaoke song of all time is Purple Rain.
Are you going to sing for us? I feel like you should sing for us.
You sing with me?
No, I can't sing worth anything. So I'll let you do the magic.
I better not. The show may end early.
All right. Well, you know what? Let me just tell you, Matthew, I hear is quite legendary in the karaoke world. So maybe, if you check out Aflac's website enough, maybe they'll post something for you. Who knows? So. But thank you so much, Matthew. This was such an extraordinary experience. And we hope to get to see what you're going to be seeing very, very soon, maybe this weekend, maybe in the fall. But thank you for all the hard work that you've done in Aflac. And thank you for being such an inspiration, because I know that your employees love you. And if someone like yourself is at Aflac, makes us definitely love Aflac even more. And Brian says, we got you, Matthew. Thank you, Brian. We appreciate that. And I'm sure, Matthew, you appreciate that. Any final words to kick us off into the weekend, Matthew?
I think just take care of yourselves. One way to do that, obviously, is to ensure that you have your right healthcare offerings set up for next year. But as we go into the end of this year and move into the next year, take care of yourselves. There's we're still at like you said in the beginning, sort of migrating through, hopefully, the end of this pandemic. And I hope 2022 is going to be a lot better.
I hope 2022 is a lot better too. Cheers to that, and be well. All right, I'm just going to say, Paul said he turned up the volume in hopes that you would sing. Brian says, thanks so much for being here. Robin saying, love Prince. But thank you so much, my friend. Thank you so much, Matthew, for being here. And thank you so much, my friends, for watching and supporting our program. Do take a moment to share this show all over with your friends, all over social media, and tag us. And of course, my direct messages are always open. If there's any comments or questions, or you have a guest suggestion, we'd love to hear from you. As a reminder, you can find full episodes of Level Up on NASDAQ, Amazon Fire, Roku, and now also the CW in San Francisco. Be well, and I can't wait to see you again next week. Take care. Be well.